If you know, I don't like coming out to my wrestling theme when I'm not wrestling. It's a little bit insulting. I mean, we listen to all those other tunes, and I did the Dude Love Dance, right? I did the Mankind Boys, but when it's time to get on the stage, I'm not a wrestler anymore, right? I'm a comic, and I've written 5 New York Times best-selling books, including 2 that hit #1. Raise one of those 2 books in the air if you have one, okay? All right, yeah. Bend down. Okay, show them to Chris Brooker so he gets the memo this time, all right? I don't like coming out to my wrestling music. Go to the back, talk to somebody in sound, see if we can cue up something a little bit more appropriate for an artist of my magnitude. I want everyone to have fun, man. I want you to have fun, so let's pretend this whole thing just did not happen. We'll wipe the slate clean. I'll do what I used to do in my wrestling days. I'll find a way to channel that inner anger into something positive and beautiful out here. I was going to say right here in London, England, but I didn't. I'm going to save that, okay? Something tells me I'll need every pop I can get today, be it a cheap one or not. So I'm going to go off, I'm going to collect my thoughts. It's really up to Chris and the sound guy to save the show, okay? I was pretty cool to everybody. I feel like you got your money's worth already. I have no reservations about it. Leak the word. The sad part about this is I actually ordered this stuff. Found out from Brodus Clay. How many of you are not wrestling fans here tonight? And don't be ashamed to admit it. It's every show there's like 4 or 5 women who get dragged here. Unwillingly. Nobody? If you're shy and don't feel like raising your hand, let me see your hands. Nobody, wait, okay, so there's a few of you out here, okay? Do you have any, try to save up my bad words, okay? Any freaking clue as to why I'm wearing this? Did what just happened out here make any freaking sense? I've been watching WWE for 35 years, and what I just did doesn't make any freaking sense.
This is bullshit. Up there, in the music box. Not sure if you got the memo. I've written 2 New York Times #1 best-selling books. And you bring me out on stage to my wrestling music. That's insulting. I've moved past that now. I'm an artist, a writer, stand-up comic. I may have started off on the wrong foot here. Tell you what we'll do. You guys seem very forgiving in nature. Let's just forget this whole thing ever happened, okay? What I'm going to do, I'm going to go off stage, have a little drink of water, collect my wits, and up there, if you can find something a little bit more suitable for an artist of my magnitude, I'll come back on stage. Thank you, and again, my deepest apologies. I want this to be a special night, and thus far it has not been. So, wipe the slate clean. Let's see if we can find some more suitable music for an artist of my caliber. Thank you. A couple of key bullet points, words and catchphrases on my hand, especially when I was the WWE commissioner, which is now known as the general manager job. Remember that, 2000? I was commissioner, back when they first started having these 25-minute momentous segments at the beginning of every show, where there'd be 17 or 18 people in the ring simultaneously reciting dialogue, and I was kind of like the guy that had to know what everybody else was saying. You know, I was kind of like the host, and so I'd be like fervently writing things down in my hand. And my mom asked me one time, she said, how many days in advance do you find out what you're saying? And I said, days? She said, how many hours in advance? I said, hours? I said, well, when do you find out what you're going to say? I'm like, Mom, sometimes, you know, the music's playing. I still don't know what the hell I'm supposed to say. I mean, especially in 2000, those fireworks would be going off. You get that adrenaline rush of going live, and you're still trying to figure out what the hell's going to transpire on the stage. And I remember Vince McMahon, boss, saying to Chris Jericho, boom, an explosion. They're going, give me some explosion noise. Now, Chris, when you get out there, don't forget to call Stephanie a trash bag, hoe bucket, sleaze bag, whore. I turned to Vince, I just like had my mouth open. He goes, yeah? I said, Vince, that's your daughter. He goes, you know, Mick, there's nothing I wouldn't do to get a pop. Shoulder over the musical bit. He points to me and says, oh my God, take a look at Vince. We look over our venerable owner, the billionaire, Vince McMahon, he's dancing like this. And just when I thought it couldn't get any more disturbing, it did. It's a big show. He taps me on the shoulder now. I'll never forget the following words. He goes, Mick, take a look at the cock on Brian Johnson. Lead singer of AC/DC. I didn't want to look, but I had to. I might be the hardcore legend, but I was terrified. It's like an armadillo had taken up residence in his trousers. I feared that his bell end might come out and attack me. Like he'd stolen half the produce from a grocery partner and stuffed it down his pants. There's nothing I can do about that song except go home and write a good story, except my legal department and my publisher said, you can't print that? I said, why not? They said, because you might get sued for slander. And I said, let me tell you something, brother. Men don't sue other men for making allegations of having a huge penis. True, not embellished at all. Correctly so, I never actually had my magic WrestleMania memory. I knew this was my last chance. So I was tucked away in like this little tent structure. Because when you go to WrestleMania, there's so many things going on. They have to build these little tents inside the buildings for guys to have a little personal space, change, get ready. I was listening to this unique choice in music, and I was just rocking back and forth. And kept hitting rewind, and I listened to this song over and over, the same song over and over. I was rocking back and forth violently, feeling myself slipping into that zone so that when I walked out of that tent, I was ready. I walked up to a place we call the Gorilla Position in honor of legendary Hall of Famer, Gorilla Monsoon. It's pretty nice to have a position named after you in wrestling. Some of you know I used to be a missionary. So I got that going for me. But I walked up and I saw Edge and Lita preparing to go out because I believe their music was playing first. I walked up to Edge and Lita. Edge was my opponent for the evening. And I said the following words. I said, I think we should say a prayer for our safety out there. What I should have said is, maybe we shouldn't do some of that stupid shit we were thinking about. have said, I went with the prayer for our safety. It's the most surprised I've been by words coming out of my own mouth since I asked a hitchhiker to give me a wank while I drove. Way back in 1987, to make that clear. Only a few of you know that I'm actually on a list. It's a small list, but you can Google the words sexy and feminist and male, and I come up on there. I was voted one of the sexiest male feminists. He took off those headphones. He handed them to me very gently, looked me right in the eye. She was about 4 inches above my eye, and he said, "Remind me never to fuck with you." Mick Foley ate a plate full of worms before every game. Do you think I got many dates after that? Do you think girls wanted to kiss a boy who had worms on his breath? I was a good kisser! But I never got the chance. What was I going to do? Practice on a pillow. The defining moment of my wrestling career came before I even got into pro wrestling. It's when I went to see Jimmy Superfly Snuka wrestle at Madison Square Garden, New York City. Dove off the top of the 15-foot high steel cage. I was in the front row, scalped a ticket. Tears were running down my face, and I looked at other people and they were hugging each other. Wished I had someone to hug at that time to share the moment with. I remember thinking, I want to be just like the Superfly. I want to be exactly like the Superfly. I want to make people feel the way he made me feel here tonight. And that was my life's goal, man, to make people feel the way he had made me feel that night. I may have added one too many words there. Now, it's up for debate whether I ever made anybody feel the way Jimmy Snuka made me feel that night. You can argue among yourselves on the way home. But I've come to realize it was somewhat fortunate that I didn't turn out to be exactly like Jimmy Snuka, who was not without his issues. Apparently I'm lucky I even saw that match, because Snuka had a guy at the time whose sole responsibility it was to make sure that Jimmy got to the matches on time. And Jimmy would roll up to a sold-out building. He'd see that line going out around the block. He'd turn to his driver and he'd say, "Not tonight, brother." And off they'd go. The problems were such that even at the peak of his popularity in 1986, Vince McMahon was willing to let him go. Jimmy resurfaced months later in the American Wrestling Association, in the American Heartlands. At which point, the owner and his son, Vern and Greg Gagne, became somewhat concerned by Jimmy's erratic behavior. Greg made the following statement to his dad. "I don't know, Dad, the guy seems kind of fucked up."